For anyone wanting a closer look at the Oneleaf NV400 settings, I've got this little setup here going so that you can see what I see through the viewfinder, and I can put it on the screen so you can see it as well as I can. Keeping in mind all of this stuff can be done through the viewfinder, I'm doing it this way so that I can put it up on my screen. I've got this hooked up. If you take the cap off right here, there is a micro HDMI cable input. There is your USB-C input if you want to capture your video stuff directly onto your computer from the micro SD card, and the micro SD card slot is right here also. They include a cable, but it didn't match my mirror box, so I used my own cable, but it's just micro USB to your device. I've got this to a standard HDMI through a mirror box going into my laptop. The laptop's right here in front of me so I can see what you see through the scope. To go to the settings, you're going to push this button and give it a long press. That comes up and it shows all of your settings. One more short press takes you into whichever menu is highlighted. So that's for the reticle that you're going to see. You just go through here, pick out the reticle that you want, and that's the one I want. So I'm going to hit the button there. Your one-shot 0 is the next one down, and it will walk you through all the settings. And you see on the bottom of the screen, move the reticle to the bullet hole while keeping the white reticle on your point of aim. And then it tells you to hit the record button to save the new setting. And I'll go through that outside. See if I can, oh, and that you toggle for your X and Y with short presses on here. And since I'm not going to change anything, I'm going to hit the save button. It's going to save that, and it's successfully saved. I didn't make any changes. I will do a live demonstration on that outside. But this is where all of your settings are. You can change your reticle color. It shows your position if you want to manually adjust your position. Your ballistic parameters, I have those turned off right now because I've got to enter them for whatever ammo I'm going to use. But again, once you have an item selected on here, you just give it a short press, and this takes you into whatever settings you want to change. You want to change this to on. You just give it a little turn, click, and there's your, when you turn that on, then you can change your ballistic group, your coefficient for your pellets, and all the bullet weight, all that stuff goes in right here. And what yardage you zeroed this in at, and then it'll compensate through the laser rangefinder, and in theory it's going to adjust all of your shots to whatever distance you're shooting if all of the input information is correct. Let me back out of this menu because I don't want to change any settings in here. So everything in here is the same way. I've got it pointed at a just a blank white wall just so that you can see all the parameters. I've got you've got your ISO sensitivity. I've got that set to automatic. My screen ratio is set to 16:9 because I want to do this for video. But your movie mode is in here. You've got 4K. Your options are 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K 120, 2K 30, and full HD, which is 1080p at 30 frames per second. I don't know why it won't do 1080p at 60 or 120 since it does 4K, but that's the way it is. If you're going to be doing night shooting, you're going to want to go to your lower settings. I wouldn't go over 30 frames a second, whatever your resolution is. I wouldn't go over 30 frames a second in night vision. The shutter speed is going to be, I think, too fast to get a very bright video, but we'll explore that at some point in the future. I do have a little pest control thing coming up. I've got one for prairie dogs and I've got one for rabbits. I'll try to do some rabbits at night. Subscribe if you want to see that. You've got your photo resolution, your movie clip, auto record. I've got auto record turned off. With auto record, in theory, when you make a shot, it'll record, so it's got a short buffer in there so that it can catch everything just before the shot. I don't know if an air rifle is going to make enough noise to set that off. Maybe that's something I'll explore at some point. It does record audio, as we saw the other day, pretty decent audio. I think I found the microphone on this. If I did, I'll build a wind buffer, because I didn't have a lot of wind the other day, and it did pick up wind noise. So I'll build a wind buffer to try to get the wind noise out. If that works, I'll show you how I did it. And you've got your exposure. You've got your exposure settings, so you can turn that up or down. I don't think you want to really go crazy with this. If the sun was super bright, you might need to turn it down some. I think the factory settings are going to be fine, but you can see how that affects it. When I turn it all the way down, it's not, my white wall's not blowing the screen out anymore. But I wasn't having any issues with it where it was, so I'm going to leave it where it was. And anyway, the whole menu is like this. You want to change contrast. It's got a calibration mode. I'll show you how to calibrate the compass in a different video. And there's a gyro calibration. You want to set it on a flat surface and go through the calibration. It'll walk you through all of these calibration modes, but I will do a demo on that at another point. If you ever get it messed up so bad that you can't figure out what you messed up, if you go all the way to the bottom of the menu, there is a reset option, and it'll set it all back to the factory setup. So I think that's all we need to go over right here. We'll take it outside, and I'll show you the one-shot zero through the laptop so that you can see along with me. I can't record that in the scope while I'm doing it. So we'll go outside, I'll set up a target, we'll set up the laptop, and we'll pump out a couple of shots and show you how to use the one-shot zero. All right, we're going to get started with the one-shot zero. Throw my mag in here. And I'm going to record this through the scope, and I'm going to record it over on my laptop, and I'll show you the difference in the two screens. Now, when I zoom in on the scope, I see something different from the recording on the scope, and I'll show you what that difference is when I get ready to play this back. You see they got the picture-in-picture that you can see in the computer recording. There's a little red dot up there, red X, which kind of disappears on the target, but I can see the green crosshair just fine. It's very cold out here, so I'm trying to not jitter the scope too much. I'm also trying not to jitter my finger on the trigger because it's very cold. Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to go with one shot. This gun's pretty consistent. So I've got to stop the recording in the scope. Okay, oops, I hit it twice. Okay, now I'm going to hold the button down and get over to my one-shot zero. Click it once. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the crosshair where I actually hit, and then I'll start dialing the scope. Gotta go the other way. Dial the scope over to where I was aiming. And there may be some shortcut to move this faster that I haven't found yet. I haven't looked for it. So let's see where we are. I overshot it a little bit. Okay, and then you see we're doing the y-axis. So I will now move the, I was doing the x-axis, now I'm going to do the y-axis. Man, it's cold out here. Gotta move the Y over a little bit. I should have worn a coat. That looks pretty close. So you hold the record button, or you press the record button. Do you want to save it? Yep. Okay. Now, if the one-shot 0 worked, we'll hold this to get out of the menu. And let's see if the one-shot 0 worked. Turn my magnification back up. You don't need, if you spin it fast, it doesn't really respond any faster. It's one click moves a certain amount, and it'll buffer 1 or 2, but not very many. So it's not an advantage to spin it faster. It's just a habit, because that's the way most things work. Okay, for anybody that doesn't know what plans are the thing you make before life happens. So for me, I forgot to turn on the scope camera recording, and my battery on my laptop died. So that video ended. So sorry about that. Did have some more shots on there, but didn't get them recorded. Now, I'm going to do some other stuff with that scope. I'm going to work on the ballistic coefficient on the pellets, and I've got to get the velocity and stuff in there. I'll show you how that stuff works, and I'll show you how the ballistic calculator works. I'll show you how the laser rangefinder works. That'll be coming up in an upcoming video. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to throw a little screenshot up here that shows what I do for my day job, and this is kind of what happens to me. I have a very small amount of time off, and I'm in an 18-wheeler for my day job, so I'm going on the road, and depending on weather conditions, it depends on when I get back. So if anybody made it through to this part and you want to see the rest of it, more settings on the scope, I'm going to have those on there, so subscribe, and I'll get to it as quick as I can. I realize my range is very limited at the house, and it's not very representative of what the Scout Epic can do, or the Evo for that matter, and really even for the Notos. I am looking actively for a place to lease so I can have a little bit stretched out, if you want to call it that, ranges to shoot at, but for right now, this is all I've got. So I'm doing the best I can do with my time, and I'm doing the best I can do with my location. I am working to improve both of those. So if anybody made it through to the end, I appreciate it. I'm going to throw a video up here. YouTube's going to throw one down here. I'll catch you in one of those, or I'll catch you down the road.